Okay, I'm going to explore the natural and gamine weight gain patterns, keeping in mind that we're comparing weight gain on Hollywood stars. So when they gain weight, we have an expectation of what Hollywood looks like in that perfection. So if somebody starts looking average or normal like us, they become less Hollywood-like. And so to us, they're like, oh, they've gained weight. But in reality, they look very much like the regular everyday person. And we, that star quality, I think, is what disappears for us and why people talk about it so much, because they're pretty average in size. I would never see these people like on the street and be like, oh my gosh, they're so big. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right. Flamboyant Naturals. As you can see, what I notice, and this is just what my own eyes, what I'm noticing in these people, and then we can put the patterns together that we're seeing. So you can clearly see she has width and vertical, especially here, and what we're accommodating. What I notice is this area where she has that width really becomes the focus. And honestly, if I'm being honest, it's mostly right in here that we're noticing throughout here. The width with some flesh on it that's taut, because it's thinner than the softer type, who will gain fleshy in here, as you'll see. It's much more, it has that with the flesh on top. This is more taut weight gain. So she still remains like narrow from the side. But you can see there is from the side, you can notice here a little bit, but really it's all up here that we notice above the waist, anything. Like down here, she's very, small still, but up here is where we're seeing differences in her body, and where that weight gain is. Now, the legs do get, some weight gain. Look at her legs compared to here, to here, to here. This is much different. This is much different than this here. This is somewhere in the middle. So you can watch the progression here of different weights, and she was trying to gain weight for these roles. So I think it's a true representation. Like, she's a method actress when it comes to weight gain. She has said she's not going to do it again because of her age, and she says it was much harder to get off this time. However, this is a true weight gain pattern. She kind of just got to let herself go. It's kind of cool. I like that she does that. It's a nice excuse in Hollywood, isn't it? To just be yourself. Okay, now Pure Natural. So slightly different. And honestly, when I look at her and I see the Gamine Jennifer Love Hewitt, it's very similar in body type, but different heights. And I'm going to question Jennifer Love Hewitt. I think she looks more dramatic classic, but she's Gamine, so I think she's a Gamine dramatic classic, if that makes sense when I get over to her. But Kibi types her as a flamboyant Gamine, so I definitely think she's dominant classic Gamine as a descriptor. But oh wow, Liv Tyler is I was going off on a tangent there. So you see, let's find her when she's really thin. So she's very, like, narrow, and she has that slight bluntness, average kind of width. The width is there. She's, got the structure. It's not like the flamboyant that comes out with that. She has a long vertical. She's very tall, but she has like that softness on top of her, of a soft natural, but she's got the vertical of a flamboyant natural. So she becomes the natural, right? She has both. So you can't put her in either category. She literally has both. So she's a natural. And That natural who has both kind of gains like this when you have both as a natural. Right, like you gain it all over because she gains with softness but has the vertical of the flamboyance. So you can see it's a lot softer. She gets her heart shape down here, and it's more like a rectangle. Like I know that she has some curve there to it, but it becomes all over weight gain with just a little bit slightly hourglassed. And that's how she's gaining. Her face does gain, but it remains still very friendly and natural. It opens up, to more drama as she loses weight, and goes more friendly girl next door as she gains. But I think right here you can see her girl next doorness and how she, does maintain a similar shape as she gains. You can probably see here, it probably goes in a little bit like this, like the romantic, and then stays a little, straight or slightly angled. Coming over to Molly Ringwald. Now, I struggle with her because I don't think she's gained that much weight. And I can see here where she's smaller. She's, I don't think I have enough of her younger or smaller here at all. But she's pretty straight, kind of just a little looking, not so much width, right? And then she starts gaining up here and up here. This is where because you can see she's very narrow and pretty straight, rectangular. She gains up here, kind of leans a little bit more flamboyant, natural. But she's not, I don't think, quite tall enough to be flamboyant natural. So she may be a Gamine natural. I'm not sure, because she, in McJimsy anyways. But I do think it's upper body weight gain more so. So I think you can have both. She leans more dramatic. If you lean more dramatic as a natural, I think you're going to gain, upper body. If you're going to be more pure natural, it's going to be all over, box you out. And if you're going to be soft natural, well, you're going to be curvy, but your waist will thicken. She'll still have her hourglass, but it will not be as pronounced as a romantic type, where it's much smaller. Her waist will kind of thicken out, where a romantic's doesn't. It thickens with the body proportionately and doesn't change the ratio. The ratio will change slightly. But they become super fleshy through here and in the arms. And then imagine, so if you are a type that has softness in the bust, like a romantic type, and in your arms, imagine that paired with some width now, and she doesn't have width like that, but I'm showing for the romantics, like to have that width as well. Like we struggle as romantics with this bust gain and arm gain, and then the soft naturals really probably have that double with the width to find things that kind of fit in the top, in the standard store. They're going to have to really take into their accommodations, curve and width if they are filling out. I know I have to take my curve into much more consideration, like higher, and have less wiggle room is what I guess I should say as I gain. And when I lose, I have a little more wiggle room with how things fit me because I go much smaller. But it does thicken through here. And she gets rounder through here, her thighs, arms. Her face becomes much softer, less defined, more romantic-like. But you can still see, like she'll gain it on top of, but you can still see the, shape of her jaw that is still very natural. Oops. All right. Moving on, we got Goldie Hawn now. Oops, I forgot to delete this one off of here when I did it before. She gains all over. She's a soft natural, but she gains all over. I almost think she's more pure natural. And with that straightness in the inner torso and then the hip, it's just slightly more narrow, less voluptuous. I think she's more pure natural, yin-leaning pure natural. But she does have the softness in her stomach and arms and her upper body, but she doesn't have it in her lower body. She leans a little more dramatic in her weight gain pattern. And I'll just leave that and come on to Heather Locklear now. She's a Gamine. Now you can see with Gamines, they gain all over. Everything is going to become much fuller top to bottom, and even flamboyant Gamines become their romantic side really comes out. Even though they'll have a yang flesh, it will look larger on them than the dramatic types because there's just less room for it to go, so they become rounder and rounder, you'll see. So as you can see, she becomes, she fills out. You can see when she's very small, just very narrow, but then she starts to kind of put on up in the bust. She'll gain a bust, right? It doesn't obstruct her line. She's still very straight, and you can see here, it doesn't obstruct her. We can't on the other line. She's still very straight, but this is still gaining. That's what she's going to gain. So your flamboyant Gamine, you could be gaining in your bust, and it still doesn't obstruct your line. You don't have to start accommodating curve. So look for that. And you can see, then she gains all over in the tummy. So she's going to gain in places that, the yin type would on top. But she's not gaining yin flesh. She has yang flesh that fills out like yin flesh. It's very interesting. Combination, not what the other types experience. Again, I feel like Pat Benatar, same thing. She's very narrow and small, straight, sharp. And then as she gains, it's all over. She fills out with some yang flesh, but it's an all over fullness. Cherub-like, angelic, like little cherubs, like I think of Da Vinci's angels, Campbell's kids, fills out. You can Google those if you don't know what those are. Then we have Jennifer Love Hewitt, who I said is not, I don't know. I almost think she's maybe natural, pure natural. But she's angular. But I don't know. Her jaw is, I can't tell if it's angular or blunt. I think she's dramatic classic, honestly. I think it's more sharp to me. But then I think she's a Gamine. Well, she does gain all over, which is slightly different than dramatic classics who gain mostly on bottom. But no, because here, she's smaller on top. I just think she's dramatic class. She should be dramatic classic. A Gamine dramatic classic if she's 5'3", because she's slightly under. I mean, in McJimsy, she doesn't meet petite. 5'3" is not petite anymore. You can be a classic type. And there are 4'11" soft classics. But here, yeah, up and straight and then angular with flesh. I don't know. Thoughts on her. She gains all over and stays narrow on top and has slightly angular hips. And to me, she's a DC, guys. But we'll just follow how she gains. I think she gains on bottom. She gains like a pear. It's much different than all the other people that we're seeing. And this hides her pearness on top because that's going to give her width. And it looks terrible. And this too, Don't like it. This polka dot dress on the left here. It it's too busy. The pattern is too small. I'm drawn to it because it's asymmetrical, and she looks better in the black and white on top, in the symmetrical, suit thing that I drew on next to it. She looks messy in natural clothes, and in mismatch, she looks weird. She just looks better in classic items. Thoughts on that? I'll leave that one alone. I disagree greatly with the diagnosis on her type. All right. Now we have Tina Turner. Again, we're going to get this all over weight gain. Now, her face stays, slightly sharp. She does gain a little bit in the face. She's not gained a lot of weight. She just kind of fills out a little bit. Again, it's that yang flesh on a petite body. It's an all over. Her bottom leg stays slightly narrower. That's due to her build. She has a more yang weight gain pattern. She's like a natural Gamine. So she's going to gain like a natural, but slightly fleshier on that Gamine body. It's going to be more compact. All right. Then you have Kelly Osbourne. She's got a very natural face and a very, honestly, her face is very dramatic, classic looking. I could argue that for her as well, but she does have that straightness in her torso when she's small. I think she is really short, so she is flamboyant Gamine. When she gains, she's got that cherub look, fleshy, yet taut flesh, as you see. It's very taut when you see her. It's not squishy. Her face is even taut when it's like this. Like, her cheeks don't get rounded, and it stays taut to her face. It's not as... those apples on her cheeks don't become like large and round. They stay taut, and you see she has structure to her face, as opposed to when I did the romantics, and their faces got round and fleshy and their cheeks got big and apple-like. That's not happening here. She has a more yang pattern, but gains all over in the area that a yin weight gain would. I noticed that, again, flamboyant gamines get a bust that doesn't obstruct their line, but it will pull like width on your clothes. That's what I notice, even though you don't really have width. All right. Then I notice with the soft gamines, it is just an all over, and they become rounded but also compact. They lose their waist, and they just like round all over. And they just become shorter and shorter and shorter looking. Interesting enough, I don't know if there's a thing to it. As I lose weight, I become what is it called? I look tinier and tinier and tinier. And I think as they gain weight, they look tinier, tinier, and tinier. Does that make sense? So the more weight I lose as a romantic, I look smaller. The more weight gain they have as a soft gamine, they look shorter. Is that the same thing? No. Yeah, they get shorter with weight gain. I get taller looking with weight gain. I don't know. It's weird. Anyways, now we have Octavia Spencer, and she has all over weight gain, very soft weight gain, but it's all over. you can see her waist becomes less defined. Where a romantic would, I'll draw to show you the difference. A romantic would have this. Let me do this again. Let me do this. It would come in like that. It would come in more like this. Like that. Do you see how the waist is thickening out? That's more soft gamine than romantic. Now here you can see she still has a slight hourglass, but she's wearing shapewear. And this is not as rounded, let me show you, as a romantic. It's like more of a tulip. They have tulip shaped on the bottom rather than snowman. So here, do you see how it's narrower there? It's like, now she's evening out as she gains at different weights. But a romantic is more nipped when she gains. And then she can wear peplums and stuff to accentuate that. And then you really see her curves. But she can also wear stuff like this. And it actually looks really nice. It's soft. And then she can wear sharp. You can mix and match a little bit. Because it's still soft. But she has a like sharp body type. In the torso, the sharp bone structure, so she can also get a little bit of structure in these little suits that a romantic wouldn't be able to do. So it's like slightly different if you're going between gamine and romantic, how you're gaining it. You do become all round as a romantic, but you also maintain your smaller waist, and it thickens out in a soft gamine. You look shorter as you gain as a soft gamine, and you look shorter and tinier as you lose as a romantic, possibly. That happens for me. But I can't say that happens for everybody. That would have to be something, to discuss. But I do notice that for the gamine, soft gamine. I'm curious about the romantic types and what y'all have noticed if you're romantic. I like just go exploring the theory. All right, and then that's a video I already made. So that is my go-to on the weight gain patterns that I see in these types. I love discussion around this, so please comment, ask questions, give your insight. I'm not an expert. This is me studying and learning, and the weight gain patterns is newer to me, and so debate and discussion is welcome as long as it's kind and constructive, and we can learn from each other and take each other into consideration. I do offer body typings if you're interested. My link is in my bio. Have a great